Trees work in mysterious ways. They communicate, they grow for endless generations, and they sometimes adapt to the harshest environments you've ever seen. How do they do it? From the sole tree that survived 9/11, to a tree that was born out of a god shaft, to a tree that may be wider than your apartment, some trees can really leave you scratching your head. And guess what? The biggest tree on Earth is actually much, much bigger than you could ever have imagined. Let's jump right in. 1. Hyperion, the world's tallest tree, the undisputed king when it comes to tree height is Hyperion, a coastal redwood residing deep within the untouched expanses of Redwood National Park in California. It's hard to be surprised by the fact that a redwood claims the title of the tallest tree, given how these trees are known for their sky-high growth and ancient lineage. In fact, redwoods have been around for an astounding 200 million years, dating all the way back to the age of dinosaurs during the Jurassic period. So, how tall is this behemoth? The Hyperion stretches to an awe-inspiring 379.1 feet, easily making it the tallest tree known to exist. Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week. It was only recently discovered in 2006 by two nature enthusiasts, whose findings were later validated by the renowned redwood expert Stephen Sillett. Having stood for around 700 to 800 years, this tree has grown largely unnoticed for centuries, quietly adding to its impressive height. 2. The tourist threat. However, access to this natural wonder is now off-limits. The National Park Service, in an effort to preserve Hyperion and the surrounding ecosystem, has prohibited visitors from venturing to its location. Those who disobey and attempt to seek out the tree can face fines as steep as $5,000. This decision comes after many curious individuals started making the trek to Hyperion, damaging the fragile understory of the forest and leaving behind litter. Park rangers explain that the tree, from ground level, doesn't appear particularly special, as only the bottom 150 feet is visible. Yet the fascination with seeing the tallest tree on the planet is understandable. Interestingly, just a few hundred feet away from Hyperion, there's a reminder of the fragility of these giants. A clear-cut area from the 1970s. Had things gone differently, Hyperion might not even exist today, as it was dangerously close to being felled before the land received protection through national park status under President Jimmy Carter's administration. 3. The Sequoia Giants. While Hyperion holds the crown for height, it's not the only tree in the world that impresses with its massive size. Giant sequoias, found primarily in California's Sequoia and Kings Canyon national parks, grow to monumental proportions, and many of the largest trees by volume are found here. The Mid-Sierra Zone, situated at elevations between 5,000 and 8,000 feet, provides the ideal environment for these massive trees to thrive. The climate offers mild temperatures and significant snowfall during the winter, while periodic wildfires help clear out competition, allowing these sequoias to dominate. Among them, the General Sherman tree. Close behind it is the General Grant tree, with a volume of 46,608 cubic feet, making it the second largest. It's hard to grasp the scale of these trees unless you see them in person, as the neighboring trees are also large enough to make the sequoias seem almost normal by comparison. To put it in perspective, the tallest sequoias can reach the height of a 26-story building, and their trunks at the base are wider than many city streets. What's even more impressive is that these trees are still growing. Each year, they add about 40 cubic feet of wood to their already immense bulk, which is the equivalent of a 50-foot-tall tree with a 1-foot diameter. 4. General Sherman, the world's largest tree by volume. There is no tree on Earth that can compete with General Sherman in terms of sheer size. Found in Sequoia National Park, this tree boasts an incredible volume of 52,500 cubic feet. Though there are taller trees, none can match the combination of height, width, and age that General Sherman offers. Some of General Sherman's branches are so massive that they dwarf entire trees in other forests, making the experience of standing before it truly overwhelming. Visitors to this national park often speak of a sense of awe that comes with being in the presence of such a giant. Sadly, the general Sherman tree and its fellow sequoias face a growing threat from increasingly severe wildfires.
The most significant threat to giant sequoias is climate-driven wildfires that we've seen over the last 5 years, which have killed up to 20% of all the giant sequoias.
Each year, forest fires in the region grow larger and more intense, putting these ancient giants at risk. To protect them, park rangers have taken to wrapping the base of trees, like General Sherman, in protective foil. This measure reduces the likelihood of fires igniting at the base of the trees, giving them a better chance of survival. 5. The Manara, Asia's towering giant. Moving across the globe, Asia also boasts some impressive trees, including the Manara, a yellow Meranti that ranks as the second tallest tree in the world. Standing at a breathtaking 331 feet, this tree is located in the Sabah region of Malaysia, on the island of Borneo. Its name, Manara, which translates to tower in Malay, perfectly encapsulates its towering stature. One of the reasons the Manara reaches such extraordinary heights is its almost flawless symmetry. This straightness in its trunk allows it to grow vertically without interruption. Unfortunately, the yellow Meranti species faces significant threats from overharvesting, as the wood is highly prized. However, thanks to ongoing conservation efforts and the creation of the Danum Valley Conservation Area, trees like the Manara can continue to grow undisturbed. This protected forest is also home to a variety of endangered wildlife species, including orangutans, clouded leopards, and forest elephants, making it a crucial sanctuary for both flora and fauna. On the southern side of the world, in Tasmania, Australia, the Centurion reigns as the tallest eucalyptus tree and the world's tallest hardwood. Locals in the area have long admired this ancient tree, which is over 1,400 years old. According to legend, the tree grew from the walking stick of a god. This mountain ash tree stands at a towering 330 feet and narrowly escaped disaster in 2019. A fierce bushfire ravaged much of the surrounding forest, but miraculously, the Centurion survived, albeit with some minor scorching. It's earned the reputation of one of the luckiest trees in the world. Not only does the Centurion hold the record for being the tallest flowering plant, but it was also the 100th tall tree recorded through aerial laser mapping, which is how it earned its name. Despite the challenges it has faced, this tree is still growing, and who knows, it may even climb higher on the list of the tallest trees in the future. Theama Marim, a banyan tree located in the Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh, India, holds the world record for having the largest canopy spread. This colossal banyan tree is awe-inspiring, covering a massive area of 4.721 acres. To fully appreciate its grandeur, it's best viewed from above, where the scale of its sprawling branches becomes even more apparent. The tree's expansive canopy stretches over the surrounding landscape, providing shade to an area as large as some small forests. This giant's origins are rooted in Hindu mythology, as legend has it that Theama Marimanu grew on the very spot where a widow named Theama threw herself onto her husband's funeral pyre, following the ancient tradition of sati. Locals believe that this act of devotion sparked the growth of this monumental tree, making it sacred and revered by the community. Deep in the White Mountains of eastern California, hidden away from prying eyes, lives Methuselah, a Great Basin bristlecone pine. This tree is currently recognized as the oldest known non-clonal tree in the world, at an incredible 4,154 years old. Named after the biblical figure who lived for centuries, Methuselah has survived millennia of environmental changes, from ice ages to droughts, all within its rugged, high-altitude home. The exact location of Methuselah is a closely guarded secret, intentionally hidden by park officials to protect the tree from vandals or overly curious visitors. It stands in Methuselah Grove, among other ancient bristlecone pines that thrive in these harsh, desert-like conditions. Their ability to live for thousands of years is due to several adaptations. For one, bristlecone pines grow in nutrient-poor soils that deter many other plant species. Their wood is densely packed with resin, making it resistant to insects and decay. Even when up to 90% of its bark is lost, a bristlecone pine can still continue growing. 9. Savi Abak, the oldest tree in Asia. Iran's Abak district is home to the ancient cypress of Abak, or Sav-e-Abak, which is thought to be around 4,000 to 5,000 years old. This magnificent cypress tree stands as a living monument to the ancient world, surviving through millennia of human history. Sav-e-Abak holds a special place in Iranian culture, often symbolizing life and endurance in the country's poetry, art, and folklore. Many legends surround the origins of this tree, one of which claims that it was planted by the ancient prophet Zoroaster during his travels, spreading his religious teachings. Whether this legend holds any truth, the tree's significance in Iranian history cannot be overstated. 10. Arbol del Tulle, the stoutest tree in the world. In the small town of Santa Maria del Tulle in Oaxaca, Mexico, grows Arbol del Tulle, a Montezuma cypress famous for having the stoutest trunk of any tree in the world. The tree's base is so wide that it was once believed to be several trees fused together, but genetic testing has confirmed that Arbol del Tulle is indeed one single tree. This massive tree is estimated to be between 1,200 and 3,000 years old, with a trunk diameter of over 30 feet. It has become a beloved symbol of Oaxaca, drawing visitors from around the world to marvel at its size and longevity. Its presence in the town's main square serves as a reminder of nature's enduring power and beauty. 11. Pando, the world's oldest clonal tree. Unlike the other entries, Pando, located in Utah's Fish Lake National Forest, is not a single tree, but rather a vast clonal colony of quaking aspen trees that all share the same genetic makeup. Covering an area of 106 acres and weighing around 13.2 million pounds, Pando is often called the trembling giant. Scientists estimate Pando to be around 8,000 to 12,000 years old, making it one of the most ancient organisms on Earth. Pando's structure is unique. Rather than one large trunk, it consists of over 40,000 individual stems that appear to be separate trees, but are all connected to a single, immense root system. This root system continues to send up new shoots, producing what we see as individual trees. Despite its age and size, Pando faces threats from climate change, overgrazing by deer and elk, and diseases that affect aspen trees. Conservation groups, like the Friends of the Pando, are actively working to protect this natural wonder, ensuring that this ancient organism continues to thrive. And now, speaking of ancient legends, let's talk about some of the most famous trees in the world right now. In the village of Brittle, Somerset County, England, stands a yew tree that is estimated to be between 3,000 and 4,000 years old. Known as the Brittle yew, this ancient tree has a girth of 38 feet and is deeply entwined with local folklore. Some say that an ancient pre-Roman chieftain is buried beneath its roots, adding to the tree's mysterious allure. Yew trees, known for their incredible longevity, have long been associated with sacred sites and burial grounds across Europe. 13. The cotton tree of Sierra Leone. The cotton tree in Freetown, Sierra Leone, holds deep historical significance for the country. According to local legend, it became a symbol of freedom in 1792, when a group of formerly enslaved African Americans arrived in Sierra Leone after fighting for the British in the American Revolutionary War. Upon reaching the shores of what would become Freetown, these freed individuals gathered under the shade of the cotton tree to offer prayers of thanksgiving for their newfound liberty. 14. Boab Prison Tree. The Boab Prison Tree, found just south of Derby in Western Australia, is a massive, hollow Boab tree that holds significant historical weight. During the 1890s, it was reportedly used as a temporary holding cell for Indigenous Australians as they were being transported to Derby for trial and sentencing. The interior, hollowed out by time, was large enough to accommodate several prisoners. Though it stands as a natural marvel today, its history reflects the darker aspects of Australia's colonial past. In order to preserve the tree and protect it from vandalism, a fence was erected around it in more recent years. The major oak is an ancient and massive tree in Sherwood Forest, Nottinghamshire, England. Believed to be between 800 and 1,000 years old, this oak is deeply intertwined with English folklore. According to legend, Robin Hood and his band of outlaws used the tree as a shelter, sleeping beneath its sprawling branches. The major oak gained prominence in the late 18th century when Major Hayman Rooke, an antiquarian, included it in his book on the oaks of Sherwood Forest. The tree has since become a symbol of the legendary Robin Hood and his exploits, captivating visitors from around the world. The Lone Cyprus, located near Monterey, California, is one of the most iconic trees along the famed 17-mile drive, a scenic route known for its stunning coastal views. This particular Monterey cypress is estimated to be over 250 years old and stands perched on a rocky outcrop overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The lone cypress has become a symbol of resilience, having withstood centuries of wind, rain, and harsh coastal conditions. It is one of the few remaining natural Monterey cypresses, as the species only grows in small populations near Monterey and Carmel. 17. Tree of Life. In the heart of Bahrain's arid desert, the Tree of Life stands as a natural wonder. This ancient mesquite tree is thought to be around 400 to 500 years old and is remarkable for its ability to thrive in a barren landscape where no other vegetation survives. The mystery of how the tree sustains itself in such a harsh environment has baffled scientists for years, with most attributing its survival to deep roots that reach an underground water source. However, local legend offers a more mystical explanation, with many believing that the Tree of Life stands on the site of the Garden of Eden. The Socotra dragon trees, found on the island of Socotra, are among the most unique and striking trees in the world. These evergreen trees are known for their distinctive umbrella shape, which allows them to thrive in the arid conditions of the island. The tree's crown is densely packed, which helps reduce evaporation and ensures survival in harsh climates. The species gets its name from its dark red resin, which is known as dragon's blood. The dragon blood tree is both a natural wonder and a key part of Socotra's ecosystem, with its unusual appearance making it a signature feature of the island. 19. Cedars of God. The Cedars of God is a small forest in the mountains of northern Lebanon, made up of approximately 400 ancient Lebanon cedar trees. These trees are some of the last remnants of the once vast cedar forests that covered this region in ancient times. The cedars of Lebanon are mentioned numerous times in religious texts, including the Bible, where they are referenced for their strength and beauty. These majestic trees were historically used by civilizations such as the ancient Egyptians, who used their resin for mummification, and by King Solomon, who incorporated them into the construction of the first temple in Jerusalem. In western Madagascar, along the dirt road between Morondava and Beloni Tsiribihina, stands the famous Avenue of the Baobabs. This striking landscape is lined with towering baobab trees, some of which are estimated to be as old as 800 years. The trees once thrived in dense tropical forests, but over the years, much of the surrounding vegetation was cleared for agriculture, leaving the baobabs standing in isolation. These ancient giants now dominate the landscape, creating a surreal and iconic sight that draws visitors from all over the world. The Avenue of the Baobabs is one of Madagascar's most visited tourist destinations today. And you know what else makes a good tourist destination? A tree that's also a historical monument. 21. Anne Frank's Chestnut Tree. During the 2 years that Anne Frank and her family hid from the Nazis in the secret annex of her father's office building, she found solace in the beauty of a lone chestnut tree visible from the attic window. This tree provided her with a small connection to the outside world as she remained in hiding. In her famous diary, she wrote about gazing at the tree and feeling a sense of hope and longing for freedom. The Liberty Tree became a symbol of defiance during the American Revolution. On August 14, 1765, a group of American colonists, known as the Sons of Liberty, gathered under the branches of a large elm tree in Boston to protest the unpopular Stamp Act. Over the years, the tree became a rallying point for patriots, hosting meetings, speeches, and celebrations. 23. Isaac Newton's Apple Tree. One of the most famous trees in history is Isaac Newton's apple tree, located at Woolsthorpe Manor, the physicist's birthplace. The story goes that in the summer of 1666, Newton observed an apple falling from this tree, which led him to ponder the forces that caused its descent. This simple observation sparked his revolutionary ideas on gravity, ultimately leading to his formulation of the law of universal gravitation. Although the original tree blew down in a storm in 1820, its roots remained intact, and it regrew from the base. When King James II ascended the throne of England, he attempted to revoke Connecticut's royal charter, which had been granted in 1662 by his brother, the late King Charles II. This charter provided the colony with a degree of self-governance, which the Connecticut colonists were unwilling to give up. The king's desire to tighten his grip on the colony was met with fierce resistance. The tale of the charter oak is steeped in Connecticut legend. In 1687, Sir Edmund Andros, the royal governor sent by the king, arrived in Hartford to reclaim the charter. The story goes that during a tense meeting with colonial leaders, the governor demanded the document be handed over. As the confrontation unfolded, the room's candles mysteriously extinguished, leaving the place in sudden darkness. When light was restored, the charter had disappeared. Amidst the destruction at Ground Zero in the aftermath of the September 11, 2001 attacks, a remarkable symbol of endurance was discovered. Buried under the debris was a Calorie Pear tree, heavily damaged but still alive. Workers at the site uncovered its charred and broken stump, which had somehow survived the devastation. The tree was rescued by the New York City Parks Department, who carefully transported it to a nursery in the Bronx. There, the tree was nursed back to health over the years, a process that symbolized resilience in the face of tragedy. The once battered tree was replanted at the National September 11th Memorial and Museum in 2010. Each spring in Washington, D.C., the blossoming cherry trees around the tidal basin paint the city in delicate hues of pink and white. These trees have become a symbol of peace and friendship between Japan and the United States. However, the path to this beautiful tradition wasn't without obstacles. In 1910, the first shipment of Japanese cherry trees sent to the U.S. was plagued by insect infestations and parasitic worms, prompting President William Taft to order their destruction. Despite this setback, a second shipment of over 3,000 trees, this time in perfect health, arrived in March 1912. They represent an everlasting friendship and the spirit of generosity shared between two countries. A little taste of Japan in the States, if you may. It seems the oaks just never end. In 1861, a group of children who had escaped slavery and found refuge at Union-held Fort Monroe gathered beneath a grand southern live oak. Under the broad canopy of this oak, Mary Smith Peake, a free African-American, began teaching them to read and write. an act that had been prohibited by Virginia law. The tree provided shade and protection as these children received their first taste of education. This same oak would witness another monumental moment in history just 2 years later. In 1863, African Americans congregated under its branches once again to hear the first public reading in the South of the Emancipation Proclamation, issued by President Abraham Lincoln. Known today as the Emancipation Oak, the tree is now located on the grounds of Hampton University. In the small village of Bodh Gaya in India, a fig tree is revered for its sacred role in the founding of Buddhism. It was under this tree that Siddhartha Gautama, who later became known as the Buddha, meditated and attained enlightenment over 2,500 years ago. Known as the Bodhi Tree, this ancient fig has become a symbol of spiritual awakening for millions of Buddhists around the world. The tree at the Mahabodhi temple is considered a direct descendant of the original tree that sheltered the Buddha during his meditation. Offshoots of the Bodhi tree have been planted around the globe, including the Jaya Sri Mahabodhi in Sri Lanka, which was established in the 3rd century BC 29. The Great Wisteria Tree. Wisteria may be a vine, but in Ashikaga Flower Park, just north of Tokyo, a particular specimen stands out as one of Japan's most beloved trees. This 150-year-old wisteria bursts into a stunning display of purple flowers every spring, attracting visitors from all over.
The tree is very old, but it was actually transplanted to this site about 20 years ago.
Its sprawling branches, supported by a framework, create a captivating canopy of lilac blooms. So which of these trees do you think was the most awesome? Are there any other really cool trees we should have included?